What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest of cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who've made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shannon Tynes,
What's up? What's up?
Daniel Acevedo,
How's it going, guys?
and special guest, Alfredo Nash. What's going on?
Hello, everyone. All right.
Hey, so you guys might remember Alfredo from the Cyber Coffee Hour. So we did a mashup with them. More to come in the future, obviously, with the collaboration. But both him and Dr. Joseph Burton Miller run a really, really cool podcast that everybody should listen to. We'll have the links, all the pertinent information in the show description. But without further ado, I give it to Shannon.
All right, everybody. So this is an article that's coming from the MasterCard Newsroom, and the title of this is "Inside Recorded Future: Startup Vibes, Classic Rock, and the Future of Cybersecurity." That's a cool name for a notification they're putting out to everybody. But what they're talking about here, this was something that was really cool. They're talking about having like a I don't know if you guys know what a Bloomberg terminal is for like finance guys. Yeah, you know what it is. So like, if you guys have ever watched the show The Newsroom, like it came up once in there, and I thought it was like a made up thing for the show, right? And I like looked into it, and I was like, this is pretty cool. Well, they got the same type of thing for cyber threat intelligence, right? So what it is it's keeping track of different things that are going on out there in the world, right? And it's keeping like running like all the time, like live different types of stats and things like that are going on to try to stay ahead of the game of what's going on. And this is a really cool thing, right? And so what they call it, they have this called an intelligence graph. And listen to these numbers real quick, right? So it tracks more than 300 state actors. This is all in real time when you're looking at it, okay? 300 state actors, 3 million criminal forum handles, billions of domains, 275 million IPs, 98,000 ASNs, right? So like when we talk about ASNs, we're talking about autonomous system numbers. So like a pool of IPs, right? Like grouping of IPs. It's keeping track of all of this in real time to try to get ahead of the game. And the fact that we talk about this every week about things that are going on when it comes to cyber threats, like this is an amazing thing that they're doing over there, the recorded future. But Alfredo, man, what's your thoughts on this? Give us a little bit more on this, man.
So the first thought is, and trying to follow what you is cha-ching. You know, when you're chasing that many actors, that many domains, and ASN owners, between Bloomberg, being on a contract with them years ago, it was like magic, right? It was like magic watching their terminal, all the tickers, all the dashboards. But now that same magic takes place over here, watching the malicious actors, some of the owners and ISP providers, and some of the tactics that they're leveraging against those same providers. So for me, the first thought is like, wow, money in the bank. The second thought is, how do you do that? How do you technologically do that and put it on a platform in this sector? So it's amazing. It's almost magical to me.
I'll jump in here. So it's pretty cool. You know, when you talk about threat intelligence has been around for a while. But the thing that sets them apart is that they're trying to use the internet kind of as their data source, which kind of blew me away a little bit. So, the people that listen to the other side of the firewall are in the in. But just in case people don't know, right, threat intelligence, what it does, right? It takes all those indicator compromises, they call them IOC, and it tries to tie it to either a threat actor or something. So they use things such as IP domains, hashes, URLs, even crypto wallet addresses to create signatures and identifiers. So that way you can use that to then predict future attacks. It learns all the previous attacks. And just like you, Mr. Nash, I was like, man, how are they using the internet as a data source? I'm like, at first I thought, are they using software like APIs, but that's more like apps? And as I kept on reading through it, I was like, of course, at the end, they're using AI. Like, obviously, 2025, they're going to use AI. And what's really amazing is that when they keep teaching the AI all the ATPs of previous threat actors, they can now, with the live feed, probably, even if they're being spoofed or they're using different tactics, if the ATPs are the same, like how they get into machines or how they do their stuff is the same, those things will probably pop up and then you can see it live on the feed. So you can go in and be like, hey, I work in the automotive industry. Like, what are my top 3 threats for my industry? And it'll give you a list of like all the ATPs and all the stuff that's pertinent to your industry. Live feed, anywhere that it's popping up, if it hits the target with their software. So Cha-Ching is right. This is like real big dollar signs. It's kind of crazy. This guy is a data analyst by nature, and I think he kind of struck oil with this one. What do you think, Ryan?
Because you have to,
Oh
because you have to think about it, right? Because like all the money, like we talk about it all the time. Whenever you have these big companies that fall prey to this, like it's not just public trust that's lost, right? Like yes, that is a big thing, but they are always thinking about the money that is lost from it, right? So the investment you have to put into this, and I'll tell you something, if it costs as much as one of those Bloomberg terminals, like to use, like it is a lot of money, right? Because again,
100%.
I looked into it after I saw it. I was like, this is a made up thing. And then when I looked into it, I was like, oh, and like it kind of reminded me, like if you ever watch any of those shows that deal with like stock market and stuff like that, like those big terminals, those terminals that are on the desk where you see all the stuff coming up on the screen. I think that's what there are, what they're trying to simulate at least, right?
Okay.
I think that's what it is. But yeah, you're definitely saving yourself. The investment you're putting into it, even though when you hear the numbers for it, you're like, that's a lot of money. But it's like, how much are you losing? It's like casinos. They do the math. They know every day they're
hmm
losing this much, right? This is how much I'm losing a day. I need to prevent that.
So I can give a little behind the curtain to the terminal, right? So as a contractor for that very org, right, they cared about latency of transactions, right? So they made their own ticker, and in multiple financial hubs or trading hubs like Reuters and, USB, they made their own variant of this terminal because Bloomberg was allegedly the fastest on the wire. And that came from the Trade Commission, DTCC. I'll get that out to you what that means. Like, I'm bad with acronyms, but they wanted to be fast around the world. So around the world, we wanted to know how many millisecond latency for each transaction after 4 o'clock. And so that terminal visualized not only who were the brokers, but how late in their transactions was. And they sold that, like you said, for a good clip of money. Today, let's fast forward to Daniel's point. Now, if I'm envisioning the same lines with a threat intel platform, I aspire to be a threat analyst, right? And these platforms were high speed, right? Like threat actor, ISP, provider. Now I can see them globally in the attack profile in a matter of seconds, or technologically on this show, right, at the speed of light, because we're on fiber now. Oh, so that part that's the scary part, because yes, now where are you going to hide? We've all seen the latency in the building of these threat intelligence platforms, but now I can share that information to Dan's point again across multiple sectors. That's the hard part for us today. Like I can look at auto, I can look at health, I can look at bank, I can look at multi-state ISAC. Who else is out there, right? So that is one, very exciting when you use AI, but very scary as a threat analyst. Like you have this capability now, or Infinity Stone, like we said on our last, now when is the Thanos snap gonna occur?
No, that's very interesting. So Shannon almost stole my thunder. I was like, oh, he's about to go where I was about to go. So he just stopped short. So I was gonna make the analogy. So it's like when you used to watch movies or TV shows where they showed the stock ticker before the nights, right?
Right.
You had the telegraph inside of that glass case. And you had, the CEO or whomever look at the little strip, seeing what's going on with the current stock market. And that feels like this is the type of leap we're having. Like they went from that until 1990-ish to the internet, right? That huge shift, like you said, like there was lots of latency in it, as well as you had to have access, right? Those were on everybody's desk. Like that vacuum sealed telegraph was like in the man's desk, where you had to go into the C-suite in order to look at the ticker. So now this gives you access to anybody who has a license. Like this is really full scale I can't say the word. Proliferation. There you go.
Proliferation, not propagation.
Right. It's early in the morning, people. But it gives that access, right? Like, so it may be expensive from the onset, but as we know, these things get cheaper over time. So for the analyst, for the threat hunter, for the SOC, and then so on and so forth, to have this type of visibility, what in my mind will aid in the I'm trying to think of a word that's not tied to I want to say depose, but I don't want to be tied to the what's his name, Luigi?
Attribution would be good.
Yeah, to attribution, or to usurp. There he is. The bad guys prior to execution. Like we can actually see the buildup, right? It's like when you see troops massing on the border. Right, you're like, oh, some action is about to take place. Either it's an exercise or an invasion. You can kind of see that in real time. So I think that gives us phenomenal visibility. So I'm very excited about the future. People keep saying like AI is going to take your jobs. You still need a person to interpret this. Like AI will feed it, but you're still going to need a human being to interpret. I don't think that'll ever go away. Whether you believe AGI is around the corner or not, you still need a person to look at these tea leaves and say, okay, this is something we need to be engaged in. This will impact us downstream. This will be a problem in the future. And I think that this will lead to having that ability for, like Alfredo said, for those threat hunters and people who are sitting in those rooms, making those important determinations and decisions. So I thought this was a really cool article. I'm glad we were able to get Alfredo on the show. I think you shared it with me. You tagged me on
on
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
Yeah. Yeah, so I made a pivot. I was like, okay, if I get you on the show and I was chasing a different article. I was like, I don't really like it. So it was perfect timing, like good synergy
Awesome.
there. So,
Awesome.
but for those of you who are tuning in, we have Alfredo on the show all week. So definitely check us out. Monday and Tuesday our topics. Wednesday discussion. Thursdays Ask CISSP. I may have one in the chamber. I'm not sure. I'm still editing it. And then Fridays everything else. Movies, books, games, all that cool stuff. So definitely check us out all week long. If you're listening to us on 99.1 FM, you get it all at one time. So you'll get the full run of the week. And if you listen to us on Channel 10 in the Atlanta, Fairfax, or I'm sorry, in the Atlanta is 99.1 FM. And then if you're listening to us on, or you're watching us on Channel 10 public access, that is DC Fairfax. You
Nice.
also get it in a different format, but you get to see our beautiful faces. So definitely check that out. So hit up all the websites that go by our name, whether it be the other side of the firewall, the other side of the FW, or Ask a CISSP. And where can they find your content, Alfredo?
So you can find us mostly on LinkedIn, YouTube, Blue Sky. We actually updated our YouTube profile to include all of our social media outtakes, but mostly we're built on LinkedIn, Blue Sky, and YouTube right now.
There it is. And where can they find you?
On LinkedIn under my name, Daniel Acevedo.
All right, there it is. Stay safe, stay secure.